you said they never should have been there.
If you are in a situation where you're getting no looks whatsoever, it is 100% having something to do with your approach.
It will just chew you up and spit you out if you're just thrown into the wolves. It's not a good way to start your SBA career.
Tracking success when your early stage career should be about your outbound efforts, not necessarily pipeline and deals on pipeline.
Right. And then eventually loans started closing and I started realizing like, okay, this is where I fit.
Where's everyone staying while they're here? Where are you guys staying? When you're
I'm
on your
staying
way?
at the Addition.
You're at the Addition. You're at
Yeah, my house.
the house. You're at your house.
I'm at my modest 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home in Tampa, Florida.
I'm staying with Ray, Drew, and family in a lovely Airbnb. Yeah, we are. It's amazing.
How's
My
that
wife is
going?
currently sitting
Good.
by the
It
pool,
was the
soaking up
cutest,
the sun.
cutest little baby I've ever seen.
I-
She looks like Ray's mini me, honestly.
It's Nora, right?
Yes.
I met her before, and we had such a good time. Did Ray make his famous pancakes this morning?
I don't know. I was dead to the world. I didn't get until 3:30
Oh,
in the
you
morning.
got it. Ray makes
No.
the most amazing. So usually, whenever I sleep over his house, he'll make the most amazing pancakes, and we all come down the stairs, and you can smell them, and he's getting the table set. I mean, it's amazing.
He's like, good morning.
Make sure you don't miss that tomorrow.
Okay, I'll be around for that. Hey everyone, welcome back to the BDO Show. We are here in Tampa again for our 4th and final episode. This is a podcast for passionate BDOs wanting to level up their game with advice and stories from battle-tested BDOs. I'm here with my co-hosts, Chris Hackney, Sterling Birdsong, Ryan Kroge, and Alan Peterson. At the beginning of each episode, I'll go ahead and remind you to like and subscribe and share and send over topics and suggestions to the BDOshow@gmail.com. BDOs. Have you ever had a borrower bring in like a brother-in-law to do their life insurance? Doesn't end well, does it? We've all been there. When you require life insurance on your SBA loan, it's critical that you bring in a company that specializes in getting these policies in place for the SBA loans. The last thing you want is for life insurance to be the holdup. We all know that's a rookie mistake. SBA Protection Quick Close Life Insurance is the fastest, easiest way to secure the insurance protection that your borrower needs for their SBA loan. Their process is simple, hassle-free, and only takes a few minutes of your borrower's time. No lengthy paperwork, no complicated forms. They even have programs that don't require labs or doctor records for approval. And best of all, you will have the collateral assignment back in less than 24 hours. It's a no-brainer. Go to SBAprotection.com for more information or email Adam Bergen at adam@sbaprotection.com. Okay, so for our 4th and final episode in Tampa while we're all together, we are going to bring up a heavy subject. We are going to talk about why some BDOs fail.
It's because they don't do this.
Text on their phones.
Busy BDOs have work to do, and it's hard to take a whole half day.
We're just
to
texting
sit
each
down
other.
and record podcasts.
And I'm going to be the first to say, like, okay,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sales coordinator. I do admin. These guys have been on their phones the entire time, and it's not social media. It's not texting. It's literally they're taking calls while we're recording on any chance they get. And so let's get right into it, Alan. Why do you think some BDOs fail?
Because they never should have been there in the first place.
Really?
Wow.
But you really believe that?
In my heart.
Oh,
I
wow.
believe that.
Tell
Okay.
us, explain.
Can we establish what is failure as a BDO though? What is that? Failure is different for everyone. Is it based on
Relative.
production? It's relative. Is it based on
You're right. It is
number
relative.
of
It's based on, a lot of
declines?
times it's based on your bank.
Right.
Because there's some banks where doing $10 million a year will make you a rock star.
That's right.
And
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, if you do that over here, they look at you like, do we keep them?
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What is failure? What does failure look like at the internet?
I don't know. You know what I mean? I think that for me, right, what I would say if somebody failed, they're not giving it enough. They're not trying hard enough, right? So when I think of somebody failing as a BDO, I think that depends. It's so relative, right? Have they put their white flag up, or is riding a base good enough for them? And in that case, are they a failure at all?
Right.
You know what I mean? So for me, I would feel like a failure if I didn't, if I wasn't in the top 5 producers at First Internet Bank, which I am. Top 5, dead or alive, no matter what, for me, I need to be in that conversation. At May 1st, I needed to be in the top 2. It needed to be me and Sterling, number 1, number 2. That's it. Nothing else is acceptable.
But you said they never should have been there. Do you think maybe they transitioned from credit or underwriting and they're like, oh, I can take a jab
Or
at this?
from business
or
banking.
From business
business
banking.
Yeah, I see a lot. I work for a large Midwest, very big SBA lender. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I've seen the ones that I would think has failed have been business bankers. They transition into SBA and they just kind of throw them in the fire and just say, be an SBA lender now. And
Being
then
thrown to the wolves isn't the worst, but in SBA industry, I feel like that's
SBA,
not the
sure
way.
is, especially if you're a high volume shop. It will just chew you up and spit you out if you're just thrown into the wolves. It's not a good way to start your SBA career.
Failure to me is it's not even getting looks at deals.
Mm.
Sometimes you don't control
That's
the
who
approvals.
I was in the beginning. I know, the kind of borderline edgy, they never belong there, man. I'm the greatest salesman of all time, dude.
This is definitely
What's
the
going
first
on? Like,
episode.
I don't know.
Alan
never
is-
seen it.
Alan's
This
losing
should
it.
not be alive. Yeah.
And I need you to talk like this for the rest of our
Yeah, no,
episodes.
and I'm just gonna keep it 100. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, what I'm getting at is, like, when I'm talking about the guy or gal that should never have been there, is that person.
Yeah,
They're not even
the
getting looks.
Well, here's my story. When someone leaves or for some reason they separate from the bank, the email
You
inbox
fired?
usually gets no, we never do that. The email inbox gets forwarded to me.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed, some people that when Alan used to be with our bank for a period, when he left, I was like, I got my emails and I got all of Alan's emails coming in. I can't keep my email inbox from 400, 500 to like 800. And I'm
Somebody
like,
get this
I
guy
can't.
Xanax.
It's like, oh my God, like, why did he leave? But then there's other lenders that leave and it's all of 2 days and no emails coming in as if they
Right.
were never there. And I said, how sad is that? That I don't know, they may have been trying hard, they may not. I'm not going to say they weren't,
Right.
but how sad is that for that to be your career and 2 days after you leave, you've got no one emailing you about a deal. Hey, can you look at this? What's the question on this deal? I got a potential structure that you can.
Right.
Ghost town. That's when
Right.
it dawned on me. I said, wow, there are some BDOs out there that their phones aren't ringing. They're not getting any emails in their inbox. That's failure because the production,
It's not
that
the phone's
depends on
fault.
your
It's not
shop.
the email's
Yeah, the
fault. It's-
production, it depends on your credit box, right? And how you
Right.
price. And
Yeah.
you can always move around and find a shop that can
Yeah.
place those deals or get those deals
Sure.
on that you get looks at. But that's when I said, well, there's a step before that where you got to get the looks. And to me, that's true
And,
failure as a
if
BDO.
you're in there and you're not getting looks, you're not getting emails, what does it remind you of? It reminds you of your first day on the job.
Right.
Right.
So what do you do your first day on the job? If it's not ringing, I better be picking it up and calling.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And
If it's
if
not coming in, you better be going out.
and be
Right.
going out.
Right.
And even, right, we all here do deals, right? When Chris, you're a little removed, but you've got exposure to the team, you're running the guy. It's like you have to continually do those things if you do not want it to turn back into day one.
You have to
Mhm.
continuously market yourself.
That's it.
You just have to. You have to continuously go out there because the good BDOs, the very successful ones, don't need a bank name.
Right.
They don't
Right.
need all it is you. People come and they borrow from you because of who you are and what you've established yourself as a industry expert or as an SBA expert, and that you deliver. You
Right.
follow through. So it also, how healthy is your portfolio? I mean,
Right.
if you're one of those lenders that you've got the majority of your deals going bad after about a year of booking them, to me, that's a failure because you are
Mhm.
failing up front of recognizing what a good, solid transaction is to put in the portfolio. Because the only time I'm going to a bank is if I want that bank to succeed. Because every bank that I've gone to, I've invested, I've bought their stock, I've invested in their ESOP or their 401k or whatever it is, because I want that bank to succeed because I feel like I'm going to succeed. If I'm going to succeed, if I'm going to drive revenue, if I'm going to drive the bottom line for that financial institution, I want to put my money where my mouth is. So what I'm getting to are those lenders that you see only stay at banks for maybe 1 or 2 years. They bank hop. And that's not always a bad thing if it's because of opportunity or something outside of your control. But if it's because all you do is for 1 to 2 years put loans on the books that end up going bad, and you start sweating because now your whole portfolio is going bad and you might get fired, and so you just keep hopping from bank to bank to bank, to me, that's a failure. You have not learned the fundamentals of the 5 C's of credit or how to structure a deal appropriately so that they're not failing once they hit the portfolio.
And it's a small world too, because you develop, I think we were talking about someone in between episodes who has a reputation. They
Mhm.
were at one bank, then they went to another bank, did a bunch of bad deals. And so it's not like something you can hide. I always would hope that like they do in the mortgage world, SBA lenders would have some sort of number attached to them, and you could track default rates and the performance of their portfolio. I know if I'm hiring you, here's the performance of your portfolio over the course, and I could track your production. Maybe we'll get there one day, maybe not, but that would be good. But if you're making bad loans, trust me, the next bank you're going to, if you've been doing it over the past 2 shops, they're going to know your reputation, and maybe they just need a body and they need some quick
Or
production.
you know, I've seen too guys that are beholden to maybe one referral source that they'll do anything and
The
everything
good and the
for.
bad deals, and it's like,
Even
it
the
shouldn't
bad
even
deals,
be-
they're cutting corners. They're
Desperation.
out of desperation. And then those folks, that's an interesting layer of failure, in my opinion, right? Because they might be getting some deals done, right? They might, from a production standpoint, maybe hey, they're getting, but when you really look under the hood, they're not actually benefiting the bank the way that they should in having a true partnership, right? Like I represent an institution. I don't work for my referral partners. I work my butt off for them. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I'm a shareholder.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I got to look out for my bank. And when you look out for the bank first, everything else falls into line.
Absolutely.
And nothing ticks me off more than the lenders that are just going to, or BDOs going to a shop because, oh, it's the wild, wild west over there, and I got to get it while it's good. And they've got a wide open. I had a guy who was going to join our shop, and our comp plan was actually a little bit better.
Yeah.
But he calls me up and says, hey, man, it's wild, wild west. I got to get it while it's good. And, they're approving everything over there. I said, well, I'm glad you said that. I didn't say that to him, but in my mind, I'm glad I didn't hire you, right? And then I think we know of the same guy who at one of these conferences said, well, at a common place we were at, oh, you go to a shop, you kind of do deals there for a couple years, and when it started to go bad, you exit before any of the clawbacks hit. Like, he's a good guy, he's a cool guy, I like him, but when he said that, I'm like, that is why the industries can get the reputation.
Me out,
I'm like, that
you
is
build
not
a reputation too,
right?
And people are going to find out, like you said earlier. And no, the hiring manager's not allowed to go and ask banks, but he can ask us.
Yeah,
right.
We drink with guys at a lot of different banks.
A lot of different,
and they get real lost after a couple drinks, don't they?
And this industry, as big as this industry has gotten, it really's gotten smaller too.
Absolutely.
With communication and the way we travel and how easy it is for us to do business across the country.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years ago, I would have never met you guys.
Right.
Because that's just not the way the industry worked.
Right.
Now that it's gotten big and we're doing so much, now we're sitting together here doing this podcast.
Right.
But that's going to gain you a reputation. It might gain you a phenomenal reputation. Whereas I'd work with any of you guys at any lender anywhere in the country.
Right.
Or it's going to give you a horrible reputation. Oh, so-and-so's working there. I'm not going to go there because I know his portfolio is going to go bad, because anywhere I go to work, I want to make sure that that bank is solid because I'm investing my money in that bank.
Right.
Right.
Because I believe in myself.
Yeah. And to go back to why BDOs fail, I think like the best kept secret about SBA lending is that it's not that hard to produce.
Right.
It really isn't
Right.
that hard to go out here and find deals. So if you are in a situation where you're getting no looks whatsoever, it is 100% having something to do with your approach.
Right.
You're not approaching the market in the correct way. Only you know if you're actually doing the work. If you're not reaching out to referral sources, if you're not marketing through LinkedIn, if you're not sliding in the DMs enough, if you're not letting people in your circle know what you do, if you're not taking people out to lunch, coffee, dinner, whatever it is, if you do the same thing over and over again and you're getting the same results and you just keep doing it, that's the definition of insanity.
Right.
And some of these BDOs out here are driving themselves insane because they don't want to do what's uncomfortable for them to do. Sometimes to grow and to be a better salesperson or a better producer, you have to put yourself in positions where maybe you are not always comfortable.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been comfortable sitting here in front of this camera and, all these lights and talking about SBA and coaching people on how to be a better BDO. But guess what? Over time, I coached myself and I grew into the person that I am today. If you're not trying to grow and learn as a BDO or as a person in general, then don't be surprised when you don't get results.
Right.
But I think that's, being a good, successful employee 101, right? You want to have good results. You want to work hard. You want to understand your craft. And so when we're talking about failed BDOs, and this is just, it's about work habit. How good are you at just focusing on what needs to be done and getting the tools you need to get it done?
So, okay, pre-failing, how much ramp up time does it really take to become a good producing BDO?
That's a good question.
That is a great question because
I would like to hear Chris's
yeah.
answer. How long do you think would you
And
give somebody?
the second part was, how do you determine when it's time to walk away from the role?
From the
So
the job when
I
someone
hope
tells
based
you
on from
to-
being a
I hope
BDO.
I never-
Well, is
I
this,
hope I
is this
never
from the
know.
BDO side or from the hiring manager?
When you get
Let's-
that
let's-
teams meeting and it's your sales manager and
and you see
HR,
another
No.
face.
that's
on-
when that's when it's
5
going.
o'clock on a Friday afternoon.
Natalie, what are you
That's
doing
when
here?
it's time to go.
No.
You get the meeting with no context
Yeah.
while you're meeting.
Yeah,
No.
get ready to update LinkedIn again.
So I guess the first question,
Available
because
for hire.
that
Currently
one,
between opportunities.
Right, exactly.
you guys are insane. So let's just do the first part then. How long what's the good ramp up time before
It definitely is dependent on your background, right? If you know,
What
God
metric
would
are
be
you
so
tracking,
favorable
too?
to have Ryan Kroge and Alan Peterson join my bank, I would not expect a ramp up beyond like a couple months, like because
Right.
they're just calling a report. Hey, it's not this email, it's this email, right? And that's
Basically.
it.
And it would be
Email
a fair
address
ask
changed.
for 2 weeks in to be like, bro, what's your pipeline look like?
Right.
Yeah, it would
That'd be a
so-
fair question.
So
you know,
for
Yeah.
if you're a seasoned BDO and a top producer, it should take, a month to kind of learn the system, call your referral sources. Here's my new email. Here's how we do things. Here's what we like. Next month, you got stuff in the pipeline.
Right.
It's starting to close in month 3. If you're a newer BDO, I tend to extend like 6 to 9 months as far as in 6 months, you definitely should have some deals in term sheets out and some deals in underwriting. I
Yep.
don't really necessarily expect you to have anything closed,
Mhm.
but if your pipeline is still goose egg from term sheets out and underwriting, then there's something even if you're new to the career in the field, because you should be able to make the phone calls.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with your SBA expertise, just to get some looks. And you have me, you've got a sales manager, you've got other lenders that can help you with all the other stuff. In 6 months, if you don't have anything in your pipeline to the like left and starting out,
Yeah.
again, not talking about closed deals, then that's too long for me. And you're going to get a call and say, hey, what can we do to help you get deals in your pipeline over the next 3 months? And then after that 9th month, it's a different type of meeting.
Yeah. And that's the one where HR is on the team.
Unfortunately.
Or I
It's
used
a
to
late
bring
Friday, 4 o'clock.
I used to bring HR into Lois' office when it was time, but that's a different life.
You would bring them in. Okay.
So, no, that's interesting. And you know what's interesting too, Chris? I'm glad I was going to ask you what, from a leadership perspective, what metrics do you really track in the very beginning? And I think you nailed it, right? It's term sheets are going out. They're coming back. We're working on, we're getting into underwriting.
Yeah.
As long as you have that
Signing term
activity in the
sheets at
beginning,
a
if stuff
minimum.
isn't closing or whatever, that's okay, but you're in the process,
Yeah, are you
Right.
getting this goes back to, are you getting the looks?
Right,
If I see that you've been here for 4 months and there's been no looks, there's
right.
been no additions to our pipeline based on you being a team member and you're not contributing to top of funnel,
Right.
then the reality is you're not going to convert into a 20, 30, $50 million producer if you've
Right.
been here for 6 months and nothing enters the
And
Chris,
pipeline.
do you
there's
remember how long it took before I had a deal to put on the pipeline?
I don't.
It was like the second day of training.
Oh, really?
It
Was
like,
it? Yeah, no, yes. So I remember that story. You were sitting with me at the
Yeah.
time because I wasn't really in management. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
You were,
You were
And then
still just-
Sterling,
yeah.
Sterling was like shadowing me. I was kind of like a quasi manager.
Yeah, right.
And it was supposed to be like 3 days, and Sterling was like working half and not really like, he was kind of engaged, but he was like, and then the second day he's like, man, I'm good if you're good. I got deals to like get done, right? I'm just gonna go over here and do my thing. I
You're
said,
like,
cool, man,
okay,
call me
new
if you
guy.
need me. Yeah, so I've forgotten that story. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
the second day, he's got a deal, like, and we actually worked on it. We had a live deal to work on through the pipeline together rather than looking at my deals and here's how our things are done.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, you got your own deal. Let's just look at that one. And I'll follow you through the pipeline and show you how things work. So
Yeah, I saw somebody say something interesting on Twitter the other day, and it's somebody who's like a really successful entrepreneur, owns multiple businesses, but he says that all of the winners that he's hired have been winners since day one.
Right.
He's never had somebody who started off as a C player who
I saw that
eventually
post, too.
became an
Yeah.
A player.
Right.
It
Yeah, they just always were
we
A
love
players,
that
huh?
underdog story, and you
Yeah.
know there's a reason they make movies based on it because it's rare.
Yeah.
And you know what I do?
That's a really
I'm
good
remembering
point.
more about this when you joined too, because you were in St. Pete office for a couple of days there. My office was there, and then the walls are relatively paper thin.
Right.
And he was in the next office, and all I heard was him on the phone all day. Hey man, it was First Home Bank at the time. I'm
Yeah.
at this new bank. Here's what we like. Hang up. He was on the phone from like sun up to sundown, and he never stopped. I mean, he would go get lunch, but
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy's an animal. He was just calling people all day. It's kind of the same script, like, hey, I'm over here now. Here's what we like. Here's how you can find me. Hang up. And it wasn't like a walk to the bathroom, take a 10-minute break, and do another call. He was like back. I'm like, oh, this guy.
In the beginning,
the real truth is I was nervous.
Me too. I was terrified.
Because
yeah.
I first of all, I have a very high standard. I don't like to fail, right? I mean, I guess maybe that comes from me growing up playing sports and things of that nature, but I'm a competitive person. But, also it's like, I just, to talk about myself personally, like, I don't have a safety net. Right.
Right.
So it's
right.
like, I don't come from like, uber rich family or something like that. Like, if Sterling fails, he falls flat on his face and it can get real deep. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, so for me, I was like, okay, I got this opportunity finally. I see the upside potential for me to make some real money. Like, I'm not going to let this slip.
But I knew you were a top producer before you even had a deal closed, just based on those 2 days where this guy called nonstop and was like, that's different. I hadn't seen that before. Even for myself, I was making calls, but not to that level, because I was already there for a period of time and I was a little more like just working my pipeline. Like, that inspired me to like, hey man, I hadn't talked to you in a while. Hey, didn't talk to you in a while. So one thing you said too, you have to not want to fail. You have to be competitive in order to avoid failure, my opinion. You want to avoid failure. There are some lenders out there, I feel like it doesn't bother them that they're not number one or number two.
Right.
And I would always say, like, to some of our junior BDOs, you got to want to be number one or number two. Whether it's not about it is about your compensation. It is about helping borrowers, but it should be about, is my name at the top? If that doesn't bother you, that you're not number one or number two, and you don't have it, and you're probably not going to be a top. You might do okay, but if you don't have what he just described, it's going to be hard for you to crack that upper echelon.
But that also depends on what stage of your career you are too.
Exactly.
And so it doesn't. I was number one for a long time at my previous financial institutions, but I got to a stage where I want to be a top producer, and I'm going to be competitive to be a top producer. I've got my 50 to 60 million. If I'm not making more than 50 to 60 million in production a year, then I've got a problem with myself. But to be number one, number two, heck, even in the top 5, that no longer bothers me, just because I've done it enough times and I've done it long enough. I don't have a problem sharing the spotlight or giving it up to somebody else.
What about getting to the top tier commission?
Oh, getting to the top tier.
Who was number
commission?
one this year at our group? I forget.
That was me. Yeah.
But you're competitive,
it feels good
right?
to be number one. Don't get me wrong, but that's not my motivation.
But you're competitive. You're competing
very
against yourself.
competitive. I've got a ridiculous competitive streak.
That's a difference as well. If you don't have that competitive spirit, whether it's number one, number two, or racing to the top tier in your comp plan,
you gotta be willing to meet Lizette. Do you guys know who Lizette is? She was associated with your bank. She's a cleaning lady at the West Tampa branch.
Like that name.
She got there at midnight, and I'd see her multiple days a week in the very beginning. And my wife would be like, "How's it going?" In the very beginning, I go, "I don't know." And like you said, I was terrified. I was self-employed for years. I mean, I had these awesome guys I was working with. I trusted leadership, and they're telling me I'm doing a good job, but I don't know nothing. I haven't closed anything yet. Is my pipeline big enough? How do I compare to the other guy? I want to be able to do this and that. And I would just kept on working. Right. And then eventually loans started closing, and I started realizing, like, okay, this is where I fit. I fit in this ecosystem like this. You know what I mean? But you've got to be willing to meet Lizette. Yeah. You know what I mean? You got to be willing to get comfortable with her, who tells you that, yes, Tampa is getting gentrified, but yes, that neighborhood is still dangerous after 1. So she would tell me to park closer to the door at 6 when the branch closed. That way I didn't have to go walk to the back of it by the Waffle House where they used to have the knife fights. But,
those are all true stories.
All true stories. But, and it's about being willing to do that. And because I would not accept failure, I had to do whatever I thought it took. And for me, that was just really just working hard, really just prospecting hard when you get the deals in, work them, asking a lot of questions, all that, maintaining that momentum and that energy is a difference between, success and failure. It's quite simple.
And for newer BDOs or BDOs still young in their role, it also helps. And it's also a huge motivation to be at a shop where you do have a good handful of high producers.
Yeah.
Because success breeds success.
Yeah.
Motivation breeds motivation.
Yeah.
And if you've got a group of really awesome, high producing BDOs that are good at what they do, and you surround yourself with those people, it's going to rub off. Just by
Dude,
being around them and talking to them.
Yeah.
That's what I love about First Internet.
I work
So
with Jared Johnson.
we got Jared, we got Eve, Sam. I mean, all these guys are phenomenal producers, great BDOs, very personable, and they have no problem with just talking to you about different structures, different issues that they've had, their successes, their failures. And I think that's where a lot of us really get along, is that we've got a very open conversations.
Right.
We don't have any animosity whatsoever.
None.
It's just like, how can we help the next person so we could be the top shot? It's more of a team effort.
It's about everybody there wants everybody else to win,
to be successful, and like highly successful.
That is what I need. Like for me, like I need that to succeed.
It motivates me, man.
Yeah,
I
had it over there too. You know what I mean? To be honest, I need that to be able to be like, we're all in this together, and we're gonna be the best that we can be collectively. There's no me versus you, and it's not even us against the world, because all of our friends, I got friends at every shop practically, that's really doing deals. We all know each other,
right?
So it's like, we're all trying to support entrepreneurs, and it's amazing. We get lost in it, but sometimes we're part of the biggest transaction in someone's life, right? That's heavy stuff. You can't let that get lost on you, right? As much as it's all the, it's not a used car, it's a pre-owned vehicle sales advice that I could give to, up and coming guys. At the end of the day, it's heavy stuff. It's good work. And if you do it for the right reasons, you do it ethically, you're going to win. I don't know. That's the way I look at it.
Bars. Dropping knowledge.
Do you guys have like a proven like metric for tracking your success?
It's called the W-2.
You joke about that, but
don't
that
knock
is really
W-2 employees.
I mean,
we're
all W-2.
The only person who's not W-2 is you right now.
Help me, I'm poor.
W-2, I'm only competing against Alan Peterson last year.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I haven't given a shout out to Microsoft in a while, have I?
No.
I was gonna do that for you. So one of the things I did with
make sure you type it out on your typewriter.
Where's my T-shirt? I need my freaking. I should have thrown that on.
I made a spreadsheet for. I'm sure you heard about this from maybe Austin, but I made a spreadsheet because they're going off on their own now, where they're not going to be working with a senior lender. So I said, I don't really care about your term sheets in production right now. Here's a spreadsheet. I want you to track outbound calls. I want you to pick. You get a point for that, or a half a point. You get a point if there's a connected call.
Yeah.
You get a certain amount of points for a LinkedIn post of a closed loan.
Right.
You get a certain amount of points for an in-person meeting. You get a certain amount of points for a group presentation.
I like that as a development tool, man.
Yeah, it is. So it's a
motivational.
I talked to Shatterbox, and we're gonna make it an app.
Yeah.
But it's a point
Very
system,
nice.
right?
Great.
So
Yeah.
all they're focused on, I got to get to 100 points by the end of the week.
Yeah.
However you get there with the combination of the things you do.
Yeah.
And you get to 100 and the spreadsheet, it turns green, right? And they're like, and we meet on that every Monday, and we're tracking success. And also it's a little competition between the four of them, who's got the most points. But they're not focused on term sheets and deals. They're focused on outbound efforts and connecting with people too. So that's something that you can track your success if you're a newer BDO, because you're not going to have a $40 or $50 million pipeline, right? So tracking success based on production.
That's a solid move from a sales manager, now Presidente. I mean, that is, man. I'm impressed. That's a great idea.
That.
Yeah,
I love that idea,
and it
man.
wasn't, and it's not like a pressure thing either, where it's not like a retail bank. How many calls and widgets did you sell?
No,
but it's
like,
so simple.
Get to this point, log your calls. If you had like a success story, for example, Austin, he posted on LinkedIn. He got an $850,000 deal on LinkedIn. He's like, LinkedIn works. He texted me and a screenshot. Now, maybe he would have done that, maybe he would have not, but that spreadsheet is just tracking success in the form of your outreach efforts, not necessarily your pipeline.
I like the point system. It's like that. What's that diet thing that the
Weight Watchers.
Where you track your points. I mean, it's the same thing. Eat whatever you want, just as long as you get to a certain point or stay within a certain point.
Because if it was
metrics,
all outbound calls, then you feel like you're like in an outbound calling kind of firm, and no one really likes that.
Nobody likes that.
But what are the?
I do, but I'm
sizing out.
But it also develops that BDO to go to what he's good at.
Yeah.
Go to his style of sales, go to his style of meeting, and to actually be productive and mix it up how he wants. Right.
It's great.
It allows to be organic while also being organized.
If you do those things, you will win.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
You will. And it's, I know you said it, but that beginning feeling of, hey, how are you doing in your new role? And not knowing, at least, with that metric, I'd be like, well, I'm hitting my points. It's got to be, you know what I mean? I'm doing something.
It should pay off. It should pay off, though. If you're outbound efforts, outbound calls, you're doing group presentations, you're posting on LinkedIn so people know you're actually a lender and you close some deals.
Yeah.
Success should come to you, some level of success. So that's, to answer your question, is tracking success when your early stage career should be about your outbound efforts, not necessarily pipeline and deals on pipeline.
Sales managers, Chris Hackney has this spreadsheet and point system, and it could all be yours for 3 easy installments of $10.99.
A subscription-based.
Subscription-based.
$5.99. And you get a T-shirt.
PE loves a recurring revenue model, so we're on something here. We're gonna exit in 3 years.
I think it's a great tool because you're like, okay, no one's gonna be here to manage you guys anymore. No, you have to learn to manage yourself, and this is a really good tool to do that.
Yeah,
and you can hold yourself accountable.
Exactly.
That's a great point.
You don't have a micromanager. You're gonna have to be your own manager.
Right. Yeah,
so
it's broken down by week. It's a 10-week kind of project, is what I call it. And I said, after this, I'm not going to look at it anymore. We're not going to discuss it, but you can continue to use this for however long you need to
track
use it to track your own success.
Yeah, I love that, man. Honestly, that's great.
If we don't get topics, we're gonna get suggestions about this tool.
Yeah.
If we don't get Okay, so if you are underperforming BDO and you're new and you're like losing hope, what's some advice we can give them?
If you're a new BDO
and you feel like you're underperforming,
you feel like you're underperforming, then there's 1 or 2 things you can do, and one's going to develop a problem or uncover a problem. The first thing you should do is go to your sales manager and express, I feel like I'm underperforming. Do you have any?
Be honest about it.
Be honest about it. Say,
don't be afraid.
Do you have any advice? Anything that I can do to help get myself out there, develop more leads, just be more productive?
Because odds are it's going to lead to a conversation like this. I tried this. I did this. When I was young, I was meeting the cleaning lady at midnight.
Right. Yeah. So your sales manager is either going to give you some phenomenal advice, some great tools for you to be success, or he's not.
Yeah.
And so if he's not, you're probably not at the right shop where you should be.
That's not a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Correct. The shop is
not a good fit for anybody if someone's treating you like that.
And a good sales manager will know when they're hiring somebody new in the industry. And they will know that this individual is going to need some hand-holding, and this individual is going to need some tools for success. And that as the sales manager, they're going to have to be the ones to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and there are shops out there that only hire seasoned professionals, seasoned BDOs. And those are the sales managers. Not that they don't want any young BDOs, but those sales managers know that they have to deal with different type of issues, different egos and business throughput, organizational stuff. I mean, it's different on so many different levels. But if you're a new BDO at a shop, lean on your sales manager if you don't feel like you're producing.
It's great advice.
Back to the Chris story, talking about you on your first couple days. Did you ever have that happen? Were you ever vulnerable with anybody, or were you always just like, I got this?
Yeah, no, I mean, by the time I got to Bay first, I kind of just hit the ground running when I got over here. I was legitimately nervous coming in over here. I think I was probably psyching myself out a little bit just about leaving my old bank because I'd been there for so long. I was very comfortable, but we were a lower producing shop. It was just the nature of the beast. I only lent in the Tampa Bay area, and we weren't really doing large deals. We weren't incentivizing referral sources. So, 8 to 10 million there was a solid year, right? I think the year before I came over here, I did probably about 9 or 10 million. And then I came over here and immediately I did 54, right? In my first full year here. So I outproduced the shop I left, the entire shop.
And yourself.
Yeah.
Dude, that is an amazing feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you outproduce a shop, like a full shop, okay. That is an amazing
the whole
feeling.
shop.
Yeah, the whole
Not
shop.
just yourself.
No, I'm talking about the entire production shop that I left.
Yeah.
Oh,
I did more in production the following year.
I
mean, that's just, it's just a different feeling when I got over here. But I mean, yeah, of course, everyone has those moments in their career where they start to doubt. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I had it all figured out from day one. My first couple of years, there were some really difficult moments. There are plenty of times where I thought about leaving banking altogether and just going to do something else. But I mean, the difference between me and other people is that I just never quit.
Right.
And then eventually I just figured it out over time. I just viewed it as it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Competitive people don't get comfortable either.
Yep.
They want
Competitive
more.
people don't get comfortable, but competitive people also know how to lift themselves up by their bootstraps when things start getting hard.
Oh yeah, you have to have your own back.
You have to, because, and this is more of a psychological situation for different people, right? Some people, when things start getting hard, they get depressed, they get down, and they just can't get out of that funk until somebody comes along and gets them out. But then there are those that are highly competitive, highly motivated. They get in a funk. They're having, let's say they're having a season of 3 months. Deals are falling out of closing. Can't get stuff into credit. It's a real tough season. Well, then they just sit back, recalibrate, pull themselves up by the bootstrap, and get going.
It happened to me this year. I'm not afraid to admit that. I had a deal by no fault of the banker or the borrower or anybody. The seller ended up walking. It was a complicated deal, right? It was large. I had that happen. I had some other things, unnecessary delays, that I thought that I was kind of experiencing. I had a loan that we had to, we had the phase 1 issue. Like, it was one of those things where everything was going on, right? But what I did was I kept my head down, right? So last month was a tear jerker for me, right? This month is a tear jumper for me.
Ooh,
you hear me?
hit
Because
the button.
and when I was in that, and when I was in that funk, right? I'll be honest with you. I talked to my friends. I was open and honest about where I was at, what I was doing, and I said, "What would you do if you were me right now?" Like, and I got some really good advice. Jared told me, borrow money from your 401k and close more loans, dude. What do you want? Like, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that, and that'll, and I do need to just stick with it. He's like, bro, you got this. You know what I mean? And that's what I had to do. And I mean, I'm on fire right now, but it's the ups and the downs. You got to realize it. And why was that stuff going goofy? I was getting away from some of the stuff I did in the beginning. I was forgetting about Lizette.
Yeah.
You understand? And once you forget about Lizette, it's over, man.
That can happen too. Like, if you have success and then you don't have success, like, how do you deal with that?
Oh man, I missed it so much. I was like, what am I doing?
I was gonna start crying.
It's not even about the money, dude. It's about like who I am.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, am I slipping?
And for me, when I started out, I just had success early. I had some large loans just by happenstance. It just fell in my lap from different people I knew. And I was kind of forced into sales because of these opportunities. I think we've talked about some of that.
Yeah.
But then I had an imposter syndrome. Like, well, I'm a top producer. I just started doing this. Like, they're expecting. Now I had like the eyes on me, right? And that's kind of how I got sales manager.
It can happen too fast too, right?
Yeah, I'm like, oh god, like, they're like, Chris, you gotta have another seller. I'm like, well, I'm still like,
because once you get there, people expect you to stay there.
That's true.
Yeah, you can't go backwards.
You can't go backwards.
Also, the best shops, when you become a top producer, the best shops are going to encourage it and they're going to reward it.
Yeah,
right.
The shops that become toxic, and I work for a shop like this. When you're a top producer and then the next year rolls over, it's what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
Are you doing the same thing over? Well, what are you doing? I'll never forget. I worked at a shop and I had the highest producing year of my career. I closed $74 million. And yeah, dude, that's still a number I have yet to beat again. And I took the entire month of January off. I just did it, man. I needed a mental health day. It destroyed me mentally, physically. I needed time to recalibrate and just relax.
Yeah.
February comes around and my sales manager comes up to me and he goes, are you okay? Are you leaving? You haven't done this. You haven't done that. What's going on? What are you going to close this year? I was like, no, I just needed to take a month off. I closed a lot. It was a lot on me. He goes, well, that makes sense, but I need to know what you're forecasting here coming up for the next month, this, that, and I'm like, dude, give me a break. All right. I've been consistently closing between $50 and $60 million. I closed 1 year of $74 million and I want to take a 4-week break. Is that cool? Can I get a mental health day?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's what the kids like nowadays, right? They like their mental health days, and that's what I wanted back in 2017. I wanted a mental health day. All right.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get it. So I'm like, this isn't good. No, it was 2016 when it happened. And I'm like, so I had to pull the ripcord on that.
And shame on that manager. That's important too. If you're a newer BDO, as much as they're interviewing you, who are you going to be working with or working for as your sales manager? Because you could be in a position like Ryan. You could be in a position where you don't have that guidance and leadership that you need. So don't overlook the sales manager role, right? And who's your leader, and is this something that someone you can learn from, or are they going to just be on you just for a number in production too? So pay attention to who your sales manager is and their value.
Don't pick a job, pick a boss.
Exactly.
Absolutely. There are 2 shops that I work for because of the sales manager.
It
First
sounds like
Internet Bank is one of them. Shout out to Mark Gibson.
Yeah, Mark
My
was
heart.
very patient with the prospecting and recruiting with me. I'm like, I just told you I'm ready. He's like, that's okay. I'm like, all right. He's like,
Yeah.
just, whatever, and that was, that's what it's all about. And different levels are needed. But yeah, if you're out there looking into opportunities, find out, look under the hood on that too, because, shops vary in how much actual support they give and how open of a process. Are the doors open? Is it really collaborative? Can you go there and learn some stuff,
Because
And
that can help you avoid failure, which is kind of what we're
it's the
discussing,
biggest
right?
deal.
Right.
Who you work with, who you work for, the shop itself.
I'm a product of my team, man. There's no, the we guy or a me guy type thing, that cliche, but it's like, it takes everybody, so that's important.
I'm so happy this was our last episode together because that was such a great topic.
It was.
I'm really happy that we were able to talk about failures in a vulnerable way, and you guys were able to sort of talk about how some failures turned into successes, because every new BDO is probably feeling this. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
great. But all right, from Tampa, this is our last episode together. So we just want to thank everybody for sitting in with us and listening to us. You will see us again back from our respective offices in our own homes and cities. Thank you for being with us. Go ahead, like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and submit topics to the BDOshow@gmail.com. And we'll see you again soon.
And now it's time to go to Charlie's Steakhouse.
Charlie's
Everyone,
Butter
wine.
Cake.
Some steak and wine, baby. Let's go.